Hi, my name is Rex Beelan and welcome to this week's painting demonstration. We're going to be taking a look this week at mixing and using darks. Just before I begin, I should point out the colors. Because it's kind of a sunsetty thing, I have my bright colors: Cad Yellow Medium, Cad Orange, Quinacridone Rose. I also have some Viridian Green, which I'm using just to neutralize and create a dark with particularly with the red there, since they're sort of complements. I also have Ultramarine Blue because it's a color that will enable me to create darks. Dioxazine Purple will also help me to create darks. I should mention in this drawing that one little strip is the one area that is going to be different. So I need to keep that, particularly the top edge of that, I need it to be fairly sharp. So I need to get this really wet, and you can see I have big puddles in places. So that's why this is on a small board. I need to let it run. I also want to, as it's running, I want to monitor the surface. So I'll kind of actually hold it up and move it in the light. This is my important edge, and I want the water to run that way. I'm going to actually turn this upside down. Okay. And now I'm going to begin with I'll hit it with a little bit of this Cad Medium. So I'm going to start, and the only place I want to take care of with is this top edge here. I'd like it to be straight, because that's their horizon line, sorry. And then the rest, I'm going to ignore the building, ignore all the rest of that. And now I'm going to switch in to my orange, and I want to really overlap this. So the orange is going right into the yellow, that's the color I want. And then I'm going to come in with my Cad Red. And I know watercolor dries much lighter than when it's wet. So I want to kind of allow for that, and I want to almost be overly bold with my use of color so that when it dries it will be a nice dramatic sky. Okay, just want a little bit more of the yellow right in there. Okay, now I'm going to turn it back the other way. As I look at this, I can see that this is not going to be the brightness that I want. So I'm going to come in with some more red there. And notice how Quinacridone Rose, it's a very strong color, and it kind of moves over like that. Kind of does that thing that it's doing there. Now I wanted, as I mentioned, I want some, I'm just going to, before I move ahead, I'm going to just try something. I'm really looking for the sweep of this long lean picture, and the thing that I'm just thinking I might like to have, instead of the layers, the lightest, the sort of yellow, orange, orange, red, and up to some blue there, I'm going to try and create a bit of a rhythmic pattern going this way. Yeah, now this is, okay, good. Hopefully good. See, this is a much bolder wash of color, this orange. But if I add the more red to that, a little bit under there, we'll see what that looks like. I want to have this sort of the dark blue of the sky right at the very top. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to, I think, be careful with this. Like, I'm going to put it, but it's going to want to run down, and I may not want it to run all that far down. So I may have to, yeah, so I'm trying to just give a visual end to the bright, an end point to the bright sunsetty colors. And right up there. Okay, So now I'm just going to play with this a little bit. So some of this may not be as visible. And I also want the blue to kind of stay at the top. But I do want to get, I'm going to tilt it this way. I want to get the other thing, I'll just put it back right in the correct position. The other thing is, even though the foreground is going to be really dark, I want hints of the sky coming through this dark wash here. So I'm going to kind of do it in reverse. I want this to be fairly clean, so I'll just clean this off. I'll start with this red down here. And then closer to the horizon, it goes more to the orange and the yellow-orange. And then there'll be a little bit of this blue down here. But because this is going to be dark, I don't want to worry too much about all that. I just want a little bit more color in there. Yeah, I think that's going to be okay. If I do the opposite and make sure that my brush is drier than the paper, and if you notice, I didn't put a lot of water into this, and I'm actually drying it off, and I hold, when I want to dry it off, I touch the hairs of the brush right near the ferrule, and then I tend to get more of the water and not mess the paint so much. So I have this darker, I have a darker value, and it is drier. And I'm just going to, because I just want to play with a little bit of, yeah. I don't want this to be as dark, so I'll add a touch of water to it to lower the value of it. And I just want just a few directional lines that, who knows if they'll even show later on. Since I have this purple, add a bit of orange to turn it more, I turn it a bit away from the purple. I'm going to start with this building. Now this, especially because this is a small size painting, I'm holding my brush like a pen, which is the detail position. But as soon as possible, I'd like to loosen up. But there's a few details here. These windows. And I'm going to try also to change the color up, virtually every couple of strokes. There's a shape along there. I'm going to switch to my really large round because I need to move quickly here. So I'm going to get my dark mixture. And this brush just holds more water, so I have to be kind of careful with it. So I keep adding, when I get a new mixture here, I'm just going to add some more over top some of the other ones. Okay, now I need to extend this, so change the color a little bit, and I've added more water, and I'm going to come down here into this foreground. And the rest of the hedge there. I'm going to add a bit of the green to start taking me away from the purple. And I'm trying consciously to leave some of these white spots, particularly if I could get them with some dry brush like that, because I think they will come in handy later on. Let's move a bit to the blue and a little green just to change the color up. Okay, and that's sort of my first wash. Now I'm going to go back to my regular 12 round. I now want to come into this wet wash and go right away, jump to my darkest values. So now I want less water. It's too red. And I'm going to just sort of play around with some shapes in here. And I know these are going to, because everything's still wet, that they will kind of flow into the water and do their own thing a little bit. And I just want some indication. It's interesting here how dark that first wash looked, but now when I add a darker value to it, it makes that look quite light. Well, relatively light. So I just want some indications of detail. So I'm going to take a small round brush, come in, vary my color again, add a bit of the green to it, a bit of the green and a bit of the red. Very little water, yes. And I just want to take the time to refine some of these lines in here. It's not necessary at all, but I just feel like doing it. Yeah, okay, so now go back to my number 12 and just continue to play with this idea a little bit more. And so I'm just trying to get the sense of some beach debris, that kind of stuff. I want, as I look at this, I'm just decreasing the value or lightening the value of this a little bit by adding more water, because I don't, particularly over here, I don't want these sharp-edged shapes. So I'm just going to take some of this wetter mixture, and I'm using the side of my brush. And just to break some of that stuff up.